All right, welcome everybody to our second cook along. I'm Paige and I'm gonna be walking you through our two recipes. We're gonna start with our butternut squash soup first, and then in the middle of it, we're gonna do our peach frozen yogurt, and then we'll go back to our soup and finish it off. So the first thing that we're gonna do is we're gonna cut up our butternut squash, and we'll set our oven to 425. So if you haven't already cooked your butternut squash, go ahead and do that now, or start your oven. So I'm gonna start my oven. It's gonna 425. We'll just let that heat up. And actually gonna go quickly wash my hands.
Hey, Paige.
Yeah.
So I have my volume all the way up and I cannot hear you very loudly.
Ooh.
Is anybody else having that?
Let me pull it closer. And also I was thinking about getting a microphone because that might help out a lot. But I will also talk louder as well.
Okay.
That should help as well. So the oven is set to 425, and I'm gonna put in the chat too the recipe real quick, just so everybody has that, just as a reference to look at. Let me find it real quick.
In case you don't know, that's my husband. So he's coming with us to do the cook along.
Welcome. Let's see here. Where is it?
Say that again.
I'm the prep cook.
Okay. I've got the first recipe. I'm going to just add the first one in the chat now, and I'll do the other one when we start that. So this is for the butternut squash. And here we have our butternut squash. Now the recipe did say that you're gonna cut it in half, like so. But we're actually not gonna do that for the sake of time. We're actually going to cut this up into pieces so that it can cook a little bit faster. But normally what you would do is you would cut it in half, like so. Down here is where you're gonna see the seeds. You're gonna scoop those seeds out, and then you put some olive oil on it and salt and pepper, and then you put it face down, and then that's what you're gonna cook for 40 to 50 minutes. But since we've got so much going on, we're actually gonna try and cut them up into pieces today and try and quicken up the cooking. So to do that, the best way to cut the butternut squash is you'll have two parts of the butternut squash. You have the bulb down here, and you have the neck right here. We're gonna cut it right where the neck and the bulb meet. And you can see right here, we're gonna cut this in half so that we can get in there and scoop out all the insides of the butternut squash. So there you see, we're gonna scoop those out. I always like to have a bowl close by. I'm gonna use this bowl. And I'm gonna scoop the insides out. And then I put all my other scraps in here as well. And it just helps for keeping everything nice and tidy. And also super helpful to have a really sharp knife when you're cutting. Right now we're gonna cut the skin off the butternut squash so that we can bake it. But with the original recipe that you can follow, you just scoop it out from the skin. You bake it with the skin on, and then you'll just scoop out the cooked butternut squash. So there's our first half. We're gonna scoop out this. So what you can do is, if you have a good peeler, you can also cut off the skin, or if you don't, you can also cut it off with a knife. So I'm going to use a knife today to cut off the skin and cut them in uniform pieces and place that in the oven. So there we go. Got the insides off. I'll start off with this. And so you have a nice flat piece or flat side edge that you can just start cutting the skin off. Place that in your discard bowl. And there you go. Cutting off the skin of the butternut squash. And I think I did see this in the veggie boxes this week. I think I also saw some watermelon, which is really exciting. There was a recipe for the watermelon, and I can't remember if we shared that with you guys, but I'll share it with you when we're this is in the oven. But it's a pretty refreshing recipe for watermelon, and kind of spices it up, because every time, you know, usually you're eating watermelon, it's the same old. So here we go. We're just cutting off all the skins. And then we'll cut this in pieces in a little bit. Take this, get it out of our way. Cut the other sides of the butternut squash. And feel free to unmute yourself if you have any questions at any time. I'm gonna keep on chugging away, cutting off my butternut squash. Last time I did this, I actually used a peeler. So this is the first time actually I am cutting off the, cutting off the skin versus peeling. It is a little bit more time consuming, but that is if you have a good peeler. I have a good peeler, but it's always an option for if you don't have a peeler, you can always cut it like this.
Paige, for those who just joined us, can you share where we're at in the process right now and who you are?
Yeah, I'm Paige, and this is our second cook along. We are currently making our butternut squash soup. And while it's baking, we're gonna work on our peach frozen yogurt. Here is the recipe, what we're doing currently. And it is a little bit different than what the original recipe just had you cut it in half, salt and pepper, or olive oil, and then salt and pepper, and then you place that face down. So that is an option, just takes a little bit more time. We're gonna try and speed this up in the oven. So we're cutting it into smaller pieces. So that's where we're at in the process right now. Now, if you had a peeler, you could always cut the skin off with the peeler, but I'm just using a knife. And then we're gonna cut it in uniform pieces afterwards. All right, we are good. Any questions so far? All right, okay. So here, we're gonna start with this. We're gonna cut it in half. We're cut this in another piece. Put it on top. Just make sure it's nice and stable. Yes, preheat your ovens if you have not yet to 425. And as much as you possibly can, try and make them as uniform as possible. You want them around the same size so that they cook evenly. That off to the side. There you go. Good. Stephanie cooked hers already in the oven, which was actually a really smart move because already it is so hot in my kitchen right now.
Yeah, I cooked it with the skin on,
Yeah, and that's
actually,
yeah,
and then
that
it
is,
just peels right off.
yeah, and
when it's
that's
done.
actually that's how the recipe calls for it, but we're just doing it this way so that we can try and
Yeah,
see.
so that's what ours looks like peeled.
So I'm just gonna cut these in cubes and try and like get them as
Yeah,
close to the same size.
yeah, I'm pretty excited though, because my friend who's going through chemo treatments is excited to try the butternut squash, and she hasn't been feeling all that well, so we'll be sharing it with them tomorrow.
That's great. Yeah, lots of
Yeah,
vitamin.
I'm pretty excited. I know it's going to come out good because the tomato soup was excellent.
Well, vitamin C, antioxidants, like that's a perfect thing to bring. Also, I can share with you all too. I did a cashew cream that I will drizzle on top. Super easy recipe. It also increases the protein intake. So that is also another option for putting on top of the soup. And it's a very easy recipe. You just soak the raw cashews in water, a cup of cashews in water for about 4 hours or overnight. And that just makes it easier to blend. And then you put it in the blender with a tablespoon of olive oil and about 3 to 4 garlic cloves. I tend to like do extra garlic in whatever I'm doing. And then about a teaspoon of salt. And then, yeah, you blend that on high for about a minute. And you can drizzle that on your soup. Actually, you can use it as a dip. It's just a really nice cream, and of course, it's got that extra protein in there for you. And it looks really pretty too. Yeah, so we did mention earlier, this is not what the original recipe said, but I know last cook along, we were a little pressed for time. So hopefully just chopping it up will help with the cooking of our butternut squash. So here I have mine on a pan with parchment paper. I'm gonna drizzle some olive oil on here. And then I'm going to put some salt and pepper on here. And then I'm gonna place it in the oven. So, and originally the recipe called for 40 to 50 minutes in the oven. I'm hoping that with chopping it up, it might take a little less time. Stephanie, how long did it take you to roast yours this morning? I think you might be on mute. Just sprinkled some salt on there. I'm gonna put mine in the oven and then I'm gonna set a timer. I'm gonna check it. It's supposed to be 40 to 50 minutes. I'm gonna set a timer for 30 minutes. And then we will check to see if it's tender because we just cook it till it's tender. So we cook till it's tender. So we'll check in 30 minutes. Hopefully it will be done. At that point, we can take it out of the oven and then we'll finish the rest of that. We also will be chopping up some shallots and garlic. I already have my garlic chopped up, but in the meantime, we are going to make our peach frozen yogurt. So if you haven't already, you can just follow along, but our peaches are already in the freezer. We put them in last night. So if you haven't, you can follow along and maybe you could do the recipe tomorrow. It is delicious. It's so refreshing. It's such a nice change instead of ice cream, and you can still drizzle all the toppings you want on it. So that's what we're gonna do now. I'm gonna grab my frozen peaches. So I just buy whole peaches and then I take the pit out and I chop them up and just make sure that they're ripe so that they're gonna, you know, taste good. And have my food processor. I'm just gonna place these in here. They're a little frozen, so hopefully I can get these out of here. I'm gonna run mine under some more water so I can get it out. They're really frozen in there. There you go. Mine just popped out. So you're gonna do 4 cups of frozen peaches, and you're gonna want to put them in the food processor. We'll let that sit for a second. See if that just thaws out a little. So you do 4 cups of frozen peaches, 3 tablespoons of agave or honey, and then you do a 1/2 cup of fat-free frozen yogurt or Greek yogurt, and I do a plant-based. Doesn't matter which one, as long as I don't like it when it has any flavoring in it, so I opt out of having vanilla in it. Last time I did this is not. So you might want to take it out for a little bit before you start the process. We're gonna let this sit for a little bit and we'll measure out our other ingredients. Definitely frozen. You just put everything in the blender or in the food processor. So you put everything in the food processor and then you blend it up, and then you can either immediately serve it, or what I did is I just put it back into the freezer, which I will do tonight since I'm gonna first enjoy our soup, and then afterwards I will have our peach frozen yogurt. So here I have our nutmeg, and we have an 1/8 of a teaspoon of nutmeg, and then we have a 3 tablespoons of honey, or you can use agave. I'm using honey. Just put that straight into the food processor. And then you're gonna use about a tablespoon of lemon juice, which is usually about half a cup of, half of a lemon is usually about a tablespoon. Right, and I'm gonna go grab our frozen or yogurt. This is the yogurt that I'm using. I'm gonna use half a cup of this.
Hey, is that a tablespoon of the lemon juice?
Yes,
Teaspoon or tablespoon?
tablespoon.
Tablespoon.
And yeah, and it's usually about half of a lemon that will.
Okay. Okay, and the yogurt. Yogurt goes in there also.
Anybody else having a hard time getting their peaches part? Don't really want to use my knife because that's not safe. So I'm just gonna try and break these apart and get them into the food processor. See if you guys can see that. There we go. This takes a minute. I think last time I definitely had mine sitting out just a little bit before I started. I'm gonna grab my other one. All right, and of course, if you want it more creamy, you can always add more frozen yogurt. But I'm going to start blending mine, so it's going to get a little loud in here. I will let you guys see.
skin on. Left the skin on. It's all good, huh? So easy to peel. I went like this and it just came off the sheets. It's beautiful.
Yeah, if you keep the skin on, that's gonna help too with having more fiber.
Said keeping the skin on gives you more fiber. Okay. So see, she's got okay, she's doing her food processor. Come on, let's go. Jones is here. So I'm having a problem with, because I don't have a food processor, I only have a blender. So what's happening is, I can't get it to blend.
No?
Can I add a little something?
Yeah, you can add some more frozen or some yogurt. You can also add some more lemon juice. I might be adding a little more lemon juice to mine, and maybe a little bit more yogurt. But yeah, is it just too full?
Well, no. It's just that the peaches are frozen and the blender is struggling. So, all right, I'm gonna add a little more yogurt.
And was it on high as well? Yeah.
Oat milk, I said.
I'm gonna blend again, so I'm gonna turn this mic off. It's really loud. And I'm just moving the peaches down because mine are blending. They just need to be moved down a little bit towards the bottom, the ones that aren't blending as well. And Stephanie, too, one thing you can do is take out some of the peaches and try and blend it and then put some more in, because that's what we actually have to do with the soup is we actually do it in parts. Not everything can blend as well when it's all together. So that might be the case. When I first did this, it actually blended well. So I'm kind of having a little more issues than I did last time as far as how long it took to fully blend. So it might just be a matter of blending half of it first and then the other half a little bit later. So let's just try and keep on blending. Again, I'm gonna move my peaches down again. Just make sure I rotate them, getting the solid ones down to the bottom. Nazba, you're making it too, aren't you? I know you were getting to peaches earlier. Or are you still with the baby? So we're gonna try again. Start blending. And I'm going to, because this is taking a little bit longer than I anticipated last time, I'm going to take out some, and then I'm gonna blend, and then I'll take out some more, blend. And that should do the trick as far as getting it to blend, as long as there's enough space. You can always move stuff down. I'm just scooping out some of the extra peaches, and then I'll blend it, and then I'll eventually add these extra frozen. But it's looking really good. Last time I made this, I had it in my freezer for about a month, and it was still good. Make sure actually everything is down towards the bottom so it can blend.
That is right
But we did it.
there. Whoop, whoop.
Sorry, my blender was on. Did yours blend?
So I cheated and I put a tablespoon of oat milk in there.
Oh, yeah, that works too. That helps blend it. You can even put water in it. Like you can add more liquid to help. I just did separating mine because I know last time I did do it in batches, so that's probably why. But this food processor was a little bit bigger, so I thought that it would work. But so you can add more liquid. You can do it in separate ones. So I'm gonna just finish this one off, and then we're gonna continue on with our butternut.
That's good because my husband is eating the butternut squash.
Just a little piece.
Hey, Paige, am I going to be putting it in a container and putting it in the freezer?
Yeah, so you could either eat it right now or
Well, we did a little bit. It's delicious.
exactly. Or you could put it in the freezer. It lasts like up to a month and or most likely a little bit longer, but I just do a month. But yeah, I'm also
In our house, it won't last but a couple of days.
I'm just gonna finish up blending this just a little longer and then I'm gonna put mine in a container. All right. It's looking pretty good. So now I'm gonna put mine in my container. Get this over here. Just got a spatula. Scooping it in there. Because you guys can't see that very well. See if I can angle it a little bit better. So what I love about this too is like the skin, it gives it a little extra pop of color. So I really like keeping that on there. Gives it that extra fiber, but it's also really pretty. Great. I think that's all I can get out of here. And I'm gonna put mine in the freezer. And super helpful when you do to go, you can reuse your to-go containers, which is what I do. And they are perfect for storing your peach frozen yogurt. Later on, I will be having this and I'll be drizzling a little chocolate on top of it. So that's an option. Okay, so now we're gonna go back to our soup. I know we've only got 18 minutes, but I definitely think that we can get done in 18 minutes. So now we're going to chop up our shallot. We need about half a cup of a shallot, which is like usually a large shallot will be about that. If you don't have a shallot, you can use the yellow onion. That also works just fine. To start chopping that, just cut off the head. Put the scraps over here in my bowl. And then you just peel out the outer layer. Also will be helpful to take off that outer layer. When we're cooking up the shallot, you can cook it in a pot that is large enough for you to put your soup in, because you potentially will have to reheat your soup. Sometimes they'll be hot enough straight out of the oven when you put it in the blender, but sometimes you have to reheat it. And I like to just use one pot, not have to make a frying pan and then also a pot. So you can cut it in half. You'll have these two bowls. And then you just want to cut evenly. See if I can, so you can see it. Just like so. It's going to be put into a blender, so you don't have to necessarily, chop it in any way, except for you just want to make sure that you're even as far as when you cook it till golden, you want to make sure that they're all golden at the same time. Same thing with our garlic. I have pre-cut or pre-minced garlic, and I think last time we minced the garlic. So this is about half a cup, one large shallot. So I already have the pot on the stove, and I am going to put a little tablespoon of olive oil in there, and then I will add my shallots. You want to turn your oven or your stove top to medium high. I'm just gonna put my shallots in there. And you also want to add a teaspoon of salt. So I
Teaspoon of nutmeg, is that what you said?
with the shallot, just salt for now. We're gonna put the
Oh, right, that's right.
we're gonna put the nutmeg in the blender with the butternut squash. Okay, so we've got that going on. Yeah, so we're gonna wait until the shallots are golden, and then we'll add our garlic and we'll let that cook for another minute. And then we're gonna transfer everything into the blender. That includes our maple syrup. We have 1 teaspoon of maple syrup, and then we have 1/8 of a teaspoon of nutmeg, and that goes straight into the blender. And then we have 3 to 4 cups of vegetable stock. So this really is dependent on like how you want the consistency of your butternut squash, and to how big your butternut squash was. I've had it where the soup was a little bit thicker, and I liked that, but some people didn't like it, so I added more vegetable stock to it, and they liked the more vegetable stock in it. So you can make it either way. Just kind of depends on how you are wanting your soup. So, and then we have 1 to 2 tablespoons of vegan butter or regular butter. I have vegan butter on hand. So after you blend it, then you're going to put in your vegan butter. I'm just going to check on the shallots. We can take a look over here. See if this will actually go over there. Can you guys see that? Yeah. So we're gonna put these to golden. We got our teaspoon of salt in there. And it's on medium high, so we're just gonna let that sit for a little bit. And as soon as that is golden, then we will add our garlic. This time I just put already prepared garlic, and I'll show you that. It's actually quite convenient. It's already minced garlic, so that's always an option if you don't want to chop up the garlic, although I will say the taste of fresh garlic is a lot better. So I highly recommend the fresh garlic. And then here I have the cashew cream that I made, and it sounds like the butternut squash might be ready. I'm gonna check on that to see if it's tender. If not, we can put it back in the oven for a little bit. So for me, it looked like it still needed some more time in the oven. So I put another few minutes on there, 7 minutes to be exact. So hopefully it cooks within those 7 minutes so that we can actually get to putting it in our blender. And then here is my cashew cream. And that is what I'm going to drizzle on top. Again, super easy to make, and I'll send that recipe to you guys so that you have that. So I'm going to just check on this. The shallots just need a few more minutes before we add our garlic. We'll let the garlic cook for 1 minute, and then we'll put all of our ingredients in our blender, and then it will be done. You can actually eat your soup right then, or you have the option of putting it back on the stove and heating it up if you want it a little bit hotter. So you have options as far as the soup goes. Last time I did reheat it on the stove. I preferred it a little bit hotter. So it's just kind of how hot do you want it, and what consistency do you want it? Because of course, if you're adding more vegetable stock to it, it's gonna be a little bit runnier. And I'm gonna go grab my butter so I have that ready. Anybody else have their butternut squash in the oven? And if so, how is it looking? Is it tender? Mine definitely needed a little more time. I'm going to check on the shallots. Okay, mine are golden. I'm going to put in my garlic. I'm also part of the fan that thinks that there's never enough garlic, so I definitely always double the recipe as far as with garlic.
Boy, that smells good.
Yeah, it really does smell good.
Woo! Yeah. Woo. Boy, the minute you pop the garlic in. Woo.
My garlic is cooked, so I'm going to put mine in my blender. guys can see that. Let me see what's in there right now. So at this point, you can put your maple syrup and your nutmeg in the blender as well.
Paige, I hate to be a pain, but I don't have the recipe in front of me. How much of the maple do I put in?
Yeah, the maple is 1 teaspoon and it's 1/8 of a teaspoon as far as the nutmeg.
Okay, and I'm using Magic Classic Maple Monk Fruit Syrup.
Ooh, that sounds delicious. Yeah, that works.
Okay, and that's 1 teaspoon, she said?
Yep.
There's a sweet
1
tablespoon.
teaspoon.
Did you say a tablespoon or a teaspoon?
Teaspoon.
Teaspoon, okay. And then 1/8 of the. Don't put any more in. Should small. Okay. Whoops. Okay.
All right, and I'm gonna go check on the butternut squash again, see if it's ready. The good thing is once you blend it, it is ready to go. So after it's cooked, it's good and it's ready to be all put in the blender. I'm gonna just check with a fork to make sure mine looks like it might be done. I give it just a couple more minutes. I'm gonna turn up my heat. So probably just maybe another few minutes. I'll give it maybe 2 more minutes in the oven. I did turn mine up to 450. So it is going to be a little bit higher, but that shouldn't change much of how it's gonna cook. And then we'll be ready to blend and add our 1 to 2 tablespoons of butter at the end, blend it again, and then it is ready to serve. And another great thing about this butternut squash is that it's got a lot of good fiber in it. So you've got that going for it. It's got a lot of vitamin A and C. It's got iron, phosphorus, and copper. And vitamin C, it's a water-soluble vitamin. It's gonna help with collagen synthesis. It's gonna help wound healing and body repair. And also our peach frozen yogurt is also high in vitamin C. And many of you might know it's also an antioxidant. So another good reason for you to share this with your friend, Stephanie, and of course, all of us as well. So, and another reason too, both of these are a little bit lower in the protein. So that's why I am adding the cashew drizzle on top. There's other ways you can add protein too. You can have a side of protein as well. I will sometimes stir up some tofu and add some extra protein that way as well. But tonight I've got the cashew cream. Any questions?
Okay, well, I just blended everything up and I think we're gonna have it with some garlic croutons.
Can I see it? Oh, it's gorgeous. I'm gonna quickly grab mine and I'll put mine in the blender.
Love these classes. My husband and I get to cook together. And it's been great stuff. You're rocking it, Paige.
Yeah.
I don't know where else I'd like to be except right here on a Friday night, having cook along date night.
It's fun cooking this stuff. Okay, I'm gonna try and transfer this in here without making a big mess, but. Okay, so then I'm going to quickly add 3 or 4 cups of vegetable. I'm going to start with 3, and then we're going to go from there. All right, I'm going to turn off my mic. It's going to get uh, 3 looks like a good consistency, and then I'm going to add my tablespoon of vegan butter. Actually, you know, looks like it might need 1 more cup of the vegetable. All right, I'm gonna blend it and this is gonna be ready. All right, I'm gonna drizzle some cashew cream.
Oh yeah, that's
We'll parsley. All right, if you haven't yet, you should take a bite of your soup.
Beautiful.
It looks delicious. And I know we are over on time. So thank you everybody for joining. Stephanie, thank you so much for sharing your screen. I'm gonna dig in and have some. Yep, that's good. I made a little garlic bread earlier, so. It's delicious. I will add the cashew, I'll email the cashew cream recipe, but I have a link to the survey if everybody who participates does not mind doing the survey. That would be amazing. Let's see here. I'm going to put the survey in the chat, and thank you everybody for joining. We will have our next one at the second Friday of September, unless in the survey there is better times for you or a better day. Please put that in the survey, because that one of the questions at the end is there anything you would change? And if a day and time is something that is hard to join on a Friday, by all means, please put that in the survey. And then I'm not sure if there's any other announcements. Katie or Jamali, are there any other announcements?
No, just our next garden classes is going to be on August 27th, and we're going to do a herbal remedies class with UC gardener master Gabrielle O'Neill. And then on the 27th, we'll also be doing a kitchen scrap garden. So you'll learn how to put a little garden together using kitchen scraps.
Excellent, thank you. Well, thank you everybody for joining our second cook along. We went a little over time, but thank you so much for coming. And the link to the survey is in the chat. And then two, if you want me to email you the recipe for the cashew cream, will you put your email in the chat and I can email you that. But otherwise, thank you. Enjoy your soup. Enjoy your frozen yogurt. Thank you for joining. We'll see you guys at the next one. Bye.